Alright, good morning. The stream has started. Welcome. We are in Ireland today, and I hope you're going to enjoy this flight with us. We're going to fly Dublin to Manchester. There's one or two things to look out for, and we'll talk through them as we get there. Good morning, Gaudies. How are you? Okay, so to start off with, I just want to give you guys one of the challenges that we face. When we take off from runway 28, we have a rather steep turn that we have to make onto the Delta Uniform Bravo VOR over there, which means that um, the aircraft is not necessarily going to be able to make the steep turn. Okay, we've actually practiced this, tried this, me and a couple of other real world guys have had a nice discussion about it. So Jim, one of our instructors, came up with a brilliant plan. We're going to add another waypoint 4 miles from Delta Uniform Bravo, and it's going to basically give the Zibo a better chance of turning automatically. The alternative is you're going to have to set up manual vectors for yourself and fly yourself, vectoring yourself the whole time until you get back on course and turn around. Now, both are perfectly legal and both are doable, but I like the automated side of things, and also then I can teach you guys how to add a waypoint into your legs page of your FMC. So I thought that was a bonus. Let me teach you guys something as well. And that is the actual graphic I'm talking about. I clicked it and then I looked away. I've got a multi-screen layout, so that's not part of my vision, and that's why I didn't notice it did not come up. So there we go. That's the actual situation. That's where we are. We take off from runway 28, then we have to make the steep turn and turn around, and that is not doable on LNAV in the Zibo. It's just too steep. Once I've programmed the FMC and before I put the leg in, I'll show that to you what happens, and then we'll fix it, and you can see that it flies it perfectly afterwards. and they both open, and we can call our ground services. Just to make sure that we don't lose them, we enable our hydraulics and make sure our parking brake is set, so that's perfectly fine. And the next step is to switch on our IRSs. Oops. I was thinking of Stansted, that's not where we're going. Okay, so now we'll just quickly run through with the step, and this, let me stop there quickly. This is what I was talking about earlier. If you do not add the extra waypoint, you see that turn is tremendously sharp, and what happens is the Zibo loses the plot over there, and it's just because it's so damn sharp. So all we do is we're going to add a little waypoint there, which we'll do just now, but I just want to quickly scroll through the plan and make sure everything looks fine, and it looks perfect. Right, so let's go there. So the way we're going to add the waypoint is this. We are going to add a waypoint in front of Delta Uniform Bravo. If we look at the chart, let me just bring that up briefly. Good morning, Sentinel. I've taken the OFP off. Sorry, Goddies. Hello, Bradley. What I want to quickly look at here with this chart anyway that is currently on the screen is we're looking for the radial. So over here you can see we need to look at the radial of 276. That is what we need to intercept. So if we take away the radial after the chart there, we can then go DUB 276 and we can put the distance at 4 nautical miles, and then we simply click on DUB and then we can execute. So it's added a waypoint for us over there, and now we can just take away the discontinuity and execute again. Alright, so if we look closely now, instead of having that very sharp turn, we actually now have a flyable LNAV flyable path, which is exactly what we're looking for. So if you ever need to add a waypoint for some reason, this was a good reason, then what you do is you just type in the relevant information and click on the one that you want to insert to. So in other words, I clicked on DUB and that put the waypoint in front. You know, so that's the way to do that. I hope that's of some benefit to you guys. Hello, good morning. And how are you?
"15 minutes on something."
Okay, alright. Yeah, well, Jeroen, thanks for joining us briefly then. Nice to have you here.
No problem, no problem. And where's the flight going to today?
We're flying from Dublin to Manchester.
Ah, great.
Right, so the next thing that we can do is move on. Route performance initialization. We already did our gross weights. Our trip is going to be 1.6, reserves 1.1, and the cost index is 20. Jeroen, you'll see I don't have my yokes showing, so I better enable them at some point in time so that I can actually see if I get the same flutter as what you do.
Okay. Is there any possibility I can watch along with you? Because on your Twitch stream, you're streaming Cloudy Box, I see.
Yeah. You have to go to YouTube. Hold on, I'll get you a link.
Okay, yeah, YouTube. Yeah, you already sent me your YouTube channel, I guess. Let me see. Yeah, I have it here.
Okay, cool.
Oh yeah, I see. Yeah.
Alright, cool. And I just need to grab my OFP again. Okay, so we're going to do a derated 1 takeoff. We're going to stick to the climb profile because we only climb to flight level 210. This is a very short flight. We're not going to have time to climb slower than that. And according to TopCat, we need 30 in our assumed temperature. Alright, I just made a quick note of the 93.2 because that is something that I'm also testing. Okay, guys, I'm ringing. Give me a second. And I'm back.
Hi, Beck. I'm David.
Hello, David. Sentinel, okay, sorry. I'm concentrating in 3 different places, so let me quickly address your question. You say you had the same problem landing at EDM, so thank you for the tutorial. Okay, cool. Yeah, then you can just add your own little waypoint and that'll fix the problem for you. Just make the turning circle a little bit wider. Alright, Goddies, SEL is the assumed temperature. That is the temperature that you want your engine to run at. If you run at 100% N1... Okay, now I'm ringing again. Give me 1 second. We had some damage at our house, so these are all the contractors phoning. Give me 1 second. Okay, and I'm back. Okay, Goddies, to come back to your SL, that's the assumed temperature. You don't want to run your engines at 100% N1 because you're going to limit the life of the blades and the engine itself. So basically what happens is there are formulas that you use, and these formulas decide what is the optimum power output required for your load, for your atmospheric conditions and everything else that is involved with taking off. It also takes into account any obstacle clearance and the minimums that you need to get over those obstacles. Once you have the actual temperature, let me go back to that page quickly. So once you have the temperature, you obviously put it in there, and then you will see that it will change your actual N1 that's going to be produced the moment you go into your takeoff go around mode. So if we take that and we make it 36, for instance, you'll see there it changes the value. So now you're going to get less power. Now, if you do your calculations correct, the difference between that 91.4 and the 93 could be life and death if you work it out incorrectly. So it's very important that you actually get the SEL temperature correct. I know in the flight simulation world, nobody really cares, but if you want to simulate it properly, you've got to do the calculations and you've got to get the correct values so that you simulate the real thing. Okay. And the difference, Bradley, let me go back there again. Alright, what basically happens is this is where you set your initial thrust rating. The initial thrust rating for takeoff says that you're going to do a takeoff -1. If you click on here, this is like a template, if I can call it that, if you know what a template is. So the template says to us, if we take normal takeoff, look at that N1 rate, it's gone up to 97.5. If we take takeoff -1, it reduces the thrust. So if you go to -2, it will even reduce it even more. And the balance to get this thing exactly where you need it is obviously to then set your SEL temperature. Then on the climb side, this is the amount of power that the aircraft will use once it's left the earth, it's in the air and it's now climbing. So the top one is obviously like a high rate of climb, a little bit less rate of climb, and a little bit less rate of climb again if you look at the bottom. Bradley, I hope that answers your question. It's all about the power. It's all about what power the engines need to run at, and they weigh it up between performance, the life and death choices that you have to make, and also, you know, economy. It's about the cost of fuel. Jet A1 is not cheap. Guardies, no, the ECL temperature is not. It is on my one. I can show you. There's mine. Let me just grab that. So what I have here is, it tells me the D-rated takeoff 1 and 30 degrees. The reason I have it on my OFP is I'm using PFPX, and it's integrated with TopCat, which is the performance calculator. And then another thing that it tells us is we need to have our engine and wing anti-ice on, because of the atmospheric conditions. There could be ice. So this is all part of what I get from my PFPX, but you'll obviously have to buy that and then configure it to give you this. Right, so I've just verified the takeoff speeds. Everything is still in place, and in fact, just make sure, yeah, that is where we need it to be. It's a pleasure. Right, so next step of the setup. Okay, I've just set the max bank angle just to make sure that we are able to turn, and then I need to go to the charts quickly. Our heading is 278 on that runway, so we want that in place, and then we want to go to flight level 210. Alright, now here's another tip. This is just a rule of thumb. It doesn't always work, but it works 99.9% of the time. If we click LNAV and VNAV right now, and those little lights light up, the rule of thumb says you're okay to go. What a lot of guys do is they forget to execute. They forget to execute the FMC. Some of the pages they just leave out, and then they think if they execute it once at the end, it's okay. It's not good enough. You have to execute every page where the execute light lights up and requires you to execute. And that's one way to double check your programming. If you have done that execution properly, and if your flight directors are on, then those two lights will come on and you're good to go. And then you don't have to worry about being in the air and those things don't come up and the aircraft don't want to follow your commands and all these funny things. So that's just a good tip from my side.
Nico?
Yes, sir.
I have to go, unfortunately.
That's fine. You know where to find me, so come back later.
Yeah, I guess we see each other tomorrow.
Alright, and then I will look out for the flutter that you were talking about. I'm not sure. I've just switched my yokes on, so we'll have a look-see.
Oh, sounds great. Okay, enjoy the flight.
Thanks, Jeroen. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
David, can you hear me?
No.
Okay. I've just dragged you live on air so people can see when we talk, okay?
Oh dear, okay.
Just behave yourself. It's okay. Don't worry.
No, I wanted to tell you something, but I'll watch.
Okay, hold a second. Hold a second. Alright, good. What do we need to do next? The yoke test, that's going to be for Jeroen. The other test that we want to look at is, I want to see what's going to happen here today. Remember we said the SEL temperatures and everything, and that gave us a N1 of 93.2, which is displayed over there. So that is what we are expecting as N1, and I'm going to see if we do the takeoff run in the toga mode when or how close we can get to those values, because that's something that's bugging me a little bit. Alright, and then we have the trim that is set for us. The APU goes on and we can now disconnect the ground power. Plan, I'll push back.
Ground to cockpit, plan acknowledged. Call me through the menu when you are ready.
Alright, so we're going to check those two switches, these two, and emergency lights comes on, no smoking comes on, and then fasten seat belts.
Captain Hudson on the fasten seatbelt sign. We do ask that all passengers take your seat at this time and please fasten your seatbelt. Just as a reminder, we cannot leave the gate until all carrying items are properly put away. All overhead bins are closed and all passengers are seated.
Right now guys, if you are familiar with the whole discussion yesterday of the Zibo not loading properly, this is one of the places that I look at. I need to know that those amps are correct. We're currently at 66.7, which seems fair. The moment we go and start our engines and look at the Gen 1 and Gen 2 amps, there's certain values that we need to get there. If it shows something like 44, then you know you're like 10 or 20 below where it should be. Now it all depends also on the rest of your switch configuration, but I've seen it a couple of times now where those values go down to 44 and the next moment you get a crash to desktop because the Zibo didn't load properly. So that's one of the little values that I look out for. It needs to be either in the 50s or in the 60s depending on your ignition switch over here. So we'll talk about that later maybe again. And this gives the captain time to welcome everybody.
Ladies and gentlemen, from the flight deck, welcome aboard our flight today. We're wrapping up the final paperwork here. Should get you on your way momentarily. I want to thank you so much for your company and business. We invite you to sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride. Again, welcome aboard.
And if anybody is unfamiliar with that voice, that is JD. If you look on the tablet and you see there it shows JD, that's the man. That is the official test pilot for Zibo. And contrary to popular belief, it's not flight deck to sim. He's an add-on. A very nice guy. I've spoken to him personally. I have great respect for him. I admire him. But he was not the first guy in line. And then we've got Faye as well. That's the other test pilot. And then you see flight deck to sim. But JD, that's the voice that I'm using here. And I have a good relationship with JD. And I spent some time with him again this morning. It's like a morning ritual where we get together and have a chit chat. He likes streaming early morning South African time, so then I usually just hop onto his stream and exchange some notes if we need to. Right, so what do we do next? Next is we need to call Better Push Back.
Ground to cockpit. Tow is driving up.
Right, what we then have to do is get all our fuel pumps going. We need to make sure that our packs are switched off, otherwise the engines will not start, and then we obviously need to get the beacon on.
Flight attendants prepare for departure, cross-check and all call, thank you.
Alright, we've got everyone strapped in. Give us a ring if you need anything.
Okay, all doors and hatches are closed. Ready to connect.
Negative card is, it is not on. I will switch it on to Yumiyu. How's that? There you go. Nav lights on, beacon lights on. We're good to go.
Tow connected and bypass pin inserted. Release parking brake. Starting pushback, and you may start engines.
Right, over here we need to wait for an N1 of, I beg your pardon, N2 of 25. The moment we reach that, we can introduce the fuel, and then we don't have a hot start, and it's not going to cost us a couple of million to fix that engine. Starting one. Good morning, Javier. How are you? Must say, it looks like a pretty nice morning here. Earlier when I was here to check out the site, it was raining. It's turning out to be a nice morning. Oh, come other way. And then we go for the pitos to come on. Alright, now look at the volts and values over there. Well, the amps. Do you see 54.4? That is what I expect at this stage.
Operation complete. Go ahead and set the parking brake.
Brake set.
Disconnecting tow. Stand
Alright,
by.
so what I have found, if the Zibo doesn't load properly, apart from the normal thing that everybody knows, the N1 doesn't work properly when you use Toga, these values differ. And when these values differ, you've got a problem. I say depending on where you are with your ignition, it will change. So let's just quickly get a better view. This is interesting. Now it's not moving. Earlier I was sitting here playing because I wanted to show you guys how these things differ.
We'll see you next time, and have a safe flight.
Okay, let's run through the procedure. We'll look at that just now again. Alright, so all the lights are alright. We need to get the packs going. And need to switch off the APU bleed and switch off APU. So let's see. Rock solid, rock solid. Okay, that is interesting. What I did at this point in time to put you guys in the picture is obviously follow my own good advice. I loaded the Cessna 172 first, and I'm now wondering if I didn't have a misfire on the previous load of the Zibo. But this is rock solid. If you can get the rock solid instrument display like this, we now know that the Zibo is loaded properly, and this is part of the fun we had yesterday. I know from previous experience, if that thing goes to like 44, you get a crash to desktop in a couple of minutes after takeoff. It just dies. So I've been checking this, and you can check in my videos how I go about checking this. I just didn't say anything, but you can go back a few videos and you can check how I've been checking this. If that is not set to 54.4, you know the Zibo didn't load properly. So that's one thing to check as a matter of interest. Right, that means we are good to go. I never checked the pin, but he's gone, so I presume that's fine. And we can go to flaps 5. And wait for the green light there. Javier, I can do that, but you must just give me a little bit of time so that I can get my hands free. Right, there we go. We've got flaps 5 green light, so we know the flaps are fine, and then we can check our controls, make sure that they are all working fine. Alright, we're going to assume that there is a ground radar here, so we're going to go for TA already, and everything else is in place, so we are ready to go. Let's taxi. Alright, now we have a very interesting situation here. We have two runways literally converging into one starting point, so we've got to be very careful to actually pick the correct runway. And we have our strobes on, and
Okay, the cabin is secured. Have a good flight.
thank you, that's what we've been waiting for. Let's go. So runway 34 is the first runway on our right, and 28 is almost in front of us, or basically in front of us, so we need to cross the first one.
Runways.
Alright, and there's no need to stop,
On
so once
runway
we're on the runway we
28.
can hit the toga button. Guys, if you do not have a mapped button, the mic button is your toga button. You see there it turns into a little hand. If you press that, it takes you to the takeoff go around mode. It's not the same as simply pressing N1, it's totally different. There's a whole script that runs that tells the aircraft you need to do certain things in takeoff go around mode that you will never get by just pressing N1. And after 400 feet we can engage our autopilot, so we click on Command A. We can then set our gears to neutral so that we don't lose any hydraulics if there is a leak, and then we switch off our RTO. Just because we forgot, we have to put on our anti-ice very quickly. Sentinel, do you see it's now flying the actual route? So we're still on our LNAV, it didn't switch off. If we look at our chart, you'll see there the aircraft is literally on the curve. So in spite of what the Zibo shows us on the ND, we did it right. And this obviously came about by just inserting that extra waypoint for us, just making it easier on the Zibo to actually follow the LNAV path. And there you can see that the values have changed because we are now in the air and all the other processes are happening. So we're sitting at 66.4. So we need the 54 one at on the ground, and this one is for the air. And if it differs to that, you know, the Zibo didn't load. I just had to get my mind around that. I couldn't remember which one was which for a moment. We'll keep that on. Okay, well, while you're on stream with us, keep us posted. I'm pretty sure that will sort out the problem for you. Guys, I'm also busy testing my FPS. This whole nonsense with explain 1130 and the heavy FPS thing is driving me crazy, as it is doing some of you too. And I've literally, between my first flight this morning and now, reverted back to stock standard explain 11. This is stock standard cloud, stock standard absolutely everything except for active sky XP. And I've removed all the Lua scripts. I have literally killed any and everything that might have an influence on FPS, and I can tell you one thing, it's a major difference. Major difference. I'm currently doing about 30 FPS. It drops a little bit now and then, but it climbs very fast again. So I'm wondering how much has to do with Lua scripts. I'm wondering how much has to do with textures. I don't know. It's like still a mystery, and I hope somebody more clever than me can figure that one out.
Thousand to go.
Sentinel. That sounds weird. What weather engine do you use? Okay, and what did you set the weather as? Did you set your weather as real world weather? Okay, and in the cockpit, did you remember to switch these lights? Like the window heat switches, are they on? These ones here at the top. Okay, now for Jeroen that's not here, not sure how long the stream has been running, but we can always do a time test later. I don't see any flutter on my yoke at all. If we look at the settings, hardware, throttle noise lock on my side is 5, but that really is for the throttle. If we go to calibration, this should be the yoke, your pitch and a roll, and as you can see there is no flutter there at all. On my pedals I had flutter, so I had to go up to a number 4 there. I'm presuming you've played with these numbers, but if you haven't, maybe just try lift those numbers as high as you can and see if the flutter goes away, because you can clearly see my flutter is perfect. There's no movement or undue movement and fluttering of the control column. Simulation gamer, the best sensitivity settings is the ones that you come up with yourself. What you have to do when you get into your calibration is you need to check these 0 values. They need to be absolutely stable. If you start seeing any variation there, any little fluttering, you need to start lifting the numbers on the side, and you physically need to put the number up until you get stationary zeros. So that's what you need to do there. Sentinel. um, even though Zibo does not display ice, it's very possible that ice is building up. So make sure all the heaters are on. That's why I'm flying with the wing and the engine anti-ice on, and all my windows are on. It's not about being stupid. it's just something that happens. Just make sure it's on, man. I don't know what else to say. If it's on and it's still fuzzy inside, then you got me. I don't know. I'll have to look at your system to really determine what's wrong. Simulation Gamer, thanks for the subscription there, buddy. Much appreciated. Right, let's get cracking. We sitting here talking and we're not doing our job. Going to land at flaps 30, speed 145, and we need to go to the forecast and set up flight level 060 as our transition flight level. I'm not going to bother with the rest right there, not enough time for that now. Let's go to auto brake 1, and we don't have to arm the speed brakes yet. Then we need to lower our altitude. We need to go down to 3,500 for Mike Sierra Tango. Yes, David, we're getting there, Alright, so we're slowing down for top of descent. We can then switch our back signs back on and go to our PA system, because we almost have to do the descent speech. Okay, what else do we need? I think we need to look at the ILS frequencies. 1095, that's correct. 232 on the dials, that's correct. That is our runway course for our localizer. And let's get our wing set up. Yeah, Sentinel, ever since Zibo implemented that, so many guys have been caught. I caught myself once where I was flying at, I think, 34,000 feet, and I went up to 36 without changing it. I even caught myself there just because of that 2,000 foot. So for your information, that's where we are at right now, just over halfway, and I'll keep you posted as we get closer. In fact, let me show you, we're almost on the star. We're going to travel all the way there to that intersection, Mercy. Then we're going to turn to MCT and fly off that way, turn around and come back straight in. That's the plan. So consider yourself briefed. Sentinel, you get different standard terminal arrivals at this particular airport. I can also go and add waypoints and things, but this is in fact a published arrival for Manchester. I have absolutely no technical or legal knowledge as to why they would do that. You got me as to the why. I just know it's one of the published arrivals, and coming from this side it is the easiest one to fly, so I just fly it the way the charts actually give it to me. Let me show you this. So from where we are here at the top somewhere over there, this is the VOR. We're literally going to turn left, follow the path out there. You see there we make the turn and then we come back. I have absolutely no idea what the legal idea is behind it or what the story is, but this is the published arrival, so nothing much we can do about it. We can fly to Mercy and then we can continue to Papa Oscar Lima maybe and turn around. We can probably do that if we wanted to, but then it's not a published arrival. Or let me also say this, I'm only human. I might have missed that one. I don't know, it could be in the list. Sentinel, it could be. It could be. I don't know how busy the airspace is. It could very well be that it is a question of stacking. It could very well be... There must be a real reason for it, you know. I don't know what it's about. I just fly it. Yeah, it could be noise abatement procedures too, David, you're right. It could be a whole host of things why they do that. I'm not familiar with this airport and their procedures other than what I see on the charts and how I fly them.
Folks from the flight deck, we've started our descent. Should have you on the ground in about 15 minutes. Want to thank you so much for your company and business and hope to see you again with us sometime very soon.
Thank you, Jorge. Hello, Joshua. Okay, so the airport is just in front of us, about 15 miles. We turn left, turn around, come back and land. Almost down at the deck. Hallo Jaco, welkom. Man, the cloud cover is so thick we can't even see the ground or the airport. Damn. Jaco, believe it or not, the approach is still there, but nobody flies it. It's, I mean, I've been in the cockpit of the 738 now a few times, and the guys basically have the options, or they just don't fly it. When we landed there last time, they literally even cancelled the IFR. We landed VFR, you know, visual. So what happens is, instead of going over the VOR and then doing the teardrop turn and coming back, what basically happens is they get you to approach right in front of Tygerberg, little mountain, and then you just make your short left into runway 19. That's the way we came in last, but on paper the approach is still there. Sorry, David. I mixed up the names there. David, that was for you. I'm also just balancing the fuel out a bit. That is so little bit, it's actually insignificant, but I thought we might as well make it look better. Okay, so the fuel is balanced again. And there we are. Now we literally flying out from the airport on exactly the same path that we're going to return on. Javier, the scenery here is stock standard X-Plane 11 gateway scenery, and I've got also for XP running in the area as far as I recall. I'm not sure if I actually switched it off a few minutes ago. Things happened too fast here because I was preparing for the YouTube channel, so I might have also down at the bottom, but it's stock standard X-Plane scenery for the rest.
Echo Golf Charlie Charlie airport information Kilo 0850 Zulu weather wind 132 at 6 visibility 10,000 sky condition ceiling 1000 overcast temperature 4 dew point 1 QNH 1007 advise on initial contact you have information Kilo Echo Golf Charlie Charlie airport information Kilo 0850
As we go. 1,000 to go.
Welcome back. I'm about to turn on to the localizer, and there I can see it's coming alive, so you just made it in time.
$2,500.
Hello, Felix. That's good. Good to know. Thanks for joining us as well. Absolutely. Sentinel, whenever you're ready, just try restart. See if that, you know, reboot your computer, see if that helps. What I find with Navigraph is I run CCleaner on my PC and then I kill all the cookies and all the temporary files and everything, and that's how I usually keep mine fresh. So when you start it again, you just log in again and get going. It seems to fix a lot of issues there. Nice in the milk, eh? $3,500 is our go around altitude as well, so we don't need to worry. And there's the runway.
1,000.
Yeah, just that cool Ghostbusters. Right, flaps 30, gear down, green light, auto brake is set. Our spoilers are on. There we go.
2, 3.
right.
Hands on the stick, and let's see what we can do.
300. Approaching minimums.
I see now that I've changed the scenery. I don't have that massive bump here in the beginning on the piano bars, so it's making me feel more confident to land here now.
50, 40, 30, 20, 10.
Felix, the Zibo is fine. X-Plane 11.30 is a mess. How Laminar can call this a final release, only they know. The frames per second in certain areas of the world is horrific. I start in Dublin at 40, and when I land here now it was 19 frames. So it's a mess. Sentinel, I'll put on the replay just now. These animations look so cool, eh? Not sure how deep I landed, so we'll have to play around a little bit. Oh, you guys have got a big game there. Okay. Excellent. I hope you saved us some good seats. I think that was a good landing. What do you guys think? Yeah, the floating. What can we do? What can we do? Fortunately, it's a long runway. Yep. What? What? Are you serious? I want to see. How do we move out of this place? Thank you, Felix. I just wish I could see through this apparent wall. This is not fun. Hello? Okay, well, that was a bit of a stupid, silly thing. Yeah, Travis, I'll have to look for those ones. Google them. Thank you very much. Guys, thank you for being here. I don't know if I can show you anything else. If you've got a special request, now is the time to ask. Who was it who asked for my scenery I&I? We still figure out the way to get that to you. Javier, I think that was you. I don't know if you're still on stream, but we need to speak about that. I don't know how to get it to you. I'll make a plan just now. Let us quickly see if I can load it into my Google Drive. Right, so where is this jet? Nice. So that is my scenery packs I&I minus the ortho scenery. I just cut that out at the bottom because there's way too much. So I just cut them out. Hope it helps. Right guys, you must all have a good day, and let me quickly do this for those of you that do not know this.